Hello everyone, Darkside Phil here, and this is a video a lot of people have been waiting for me to make. This is going to be my PS Vita day 2, I guess it's technically day 3 of having it, but my week 1 impressions, okay? It is currently Friday, February 24th. I purchased my PS Vita on Wednesday, on release day in the United States. And I've now had hands-on experience with this system for two nights. I've been playing through a couple games. Just to show you the games that I bought, and unfortunately I've not had a chance to play them all, okay? Dungeon Hunter Alliance, Uncharted Golden Abyss, Wipeout 2048, and Mod Nation Racers. I'm going to be completely honest, I have not gotten to play the 2 racing games yet, which is unfortunate, but I will get to them eventually. So I've been spending most of my time with Dungeon Hunter Alliance and Uncharted Golden Abyss. And so what I'd like to do is, from playing this several hours, okay, because I've been grinding a little bit in Dungeon Hunter Alliance, and I got to maybe like Chapter 4 in Uncharted Golden Abyss. I like to describe my experiences with the system. I'd like to tell you what I think my positives are, what the negatives are, and overall, you know, what I'm thinking about the system so far, okay? And so, the first thing I want to show everyone is something that I did not get to show you if you watched my unboxing video on Wednesday, was this. This is the PS Vita thumb grips, I guess they're called, and what it is it turns your PS Vita system more into like a standard console controller, and I have been using this for the gameplay, and I can say that it works perfectly fine. In fact, it's nice because, as I said, in my unboxing video, it's a little bit annoying with these systems that they make them all this shiny, this shiny material, because you get fingerprints and stuff all over, and it's also slippery. It gets greasy after a while. And on the back of the Vita, they actually purposely gave you these non-slippery grips, I think purposely for that, because they know some people think it gets too slippery. Well, this is not that kind of material. This is that almost rubbery kind of plastic that it's easier to hold onto. So that's why I've been using this, and I really, in my opinion, I think this is a great accessory to have. It was $18 at GameStop, and it really helps for the holding of the Vita. But what I'd like to say, first of all, right off the bat, and it was the first thing you saw in my unboxing video, it's the first thing I mentioned, and it's probably the first thing that everyone mentions, is when you turn the thing on, look at this, the screen, okay? I actually have a game going right now, which I'm probably going to close off here, okay? But the screen of the PS Vita is huge, okay? Compared to any other handheld, this is like twice the size of the Nintendo 3DS, even though, keep in mind, the Nintendo 3DS is technically like this, with 2 screens, but it's a ginormous, beautiful OLED screen, and I really think it's one of the greatest assets of the PS Vita is the screen, the beautiful graphics of the screen. As I can show you here we are in Dungeon Hunter Alliance, and look at how pretty it is. And I know there's a little bit of glare. There's nothing I can do about that. But the graphics are gorgeous. Like, it looks like you're playing on a PS3 almost. And the frame rate in a lot of places is, like right now, this is almost full 60 frames per second. Which you can't tell, of course, in a YouTube video. But really smooth, really impressive. Uncharted looks great on here as well. It's just, they look gorgeous. So I think definitely one of the best things about the Vita is the size of the screen and the graphics. I think that both of those are outstanding, okay? Another thing I really like about the Vita is the controls, because right off the bat they said, we're not going to be silly, we're not going to do some kind of ridiculous, first wave of the Vita that has a weird thing. We're going to go right off the bat, dual thumbsticks, D-pad, your 4 buttons, and your 2 shoulder buttons, which is the standard control scheme for games since, like, the PlayStation 1 came out, and how long ago was that? You know what I mean? So right off the bat, they're no nonsense. We're going to give you a standard control scheme that you can play and you're going to be used to. And I have to say, for games like Uncharted, for the Dungeon Hunter that I've been playing, the controls are pretty good, okay, for a handheld system. It feels like you're playing a home console when you play the PS Vita, as opposed to a lot of other handheld systems like the Nintendo 3DS. You feel like you're playing something else. It doesn't have the control scheme of a standard controller, but the Vita does, and that's a major positive for me, okay? The wireless connectivity is perfect. It works everywhere in my condo, and I was able to, if you saw my unboxing video, after a little snafu there, because here's what happened on launch day, the PS Vita already needed a patch, okay? And so, unfortunately, I had to go on. I'm trying to stand it up here and it's not letting me. No, I don't want to do Wipeout, you stupid thing. Maybe I can stack some games behind it, and that'll work. Yep, there we go. So, on launch day, the damn thing already needed an update patch. And so, it was a little frustrating because I hadn't synced it to my wireless network yet. And I was like, damn, how am I going to get this update patch? So what I had to do, I had to create a trial PlayStation Network account. Then I had to connect this to my router, which is based off the security features of your own router. Then I had to go on to their online service, which allowed you through the system settings to automatically update it. Then I was able to log into PlayStation Network. But let me put it this way. Once I was able to do that, it's very cool to be able to just easily jump onto the PlayStation Network from here, as I'll show you if I can not do that. That's not what I did. PS Store. You jump right into the store, start, and right here you're going to see a menu. You can buy games, you can get PS Vita games, you can get PlayStation Portable games, which is great because there were a lot of good games for PlayStation Portable, and the thing kind of went obsolete pretty quickly, and so people got frustrated. And so right off the bat, it's kind of funny, some of the games that are retail releases you can actually buy right now and just download. You don't even have to go back to the store to buy them. So for example, PS Vita games, right? Anything with a price, you can download over PlayStation Network. You don't even need to go to the store and buy a disc, or not a disc, I'm sorry, the memory card for it. So Army Corps of Hell, Ben 10, Dynasty Warriors, which I might actually get Dynasty Warriors next, Escape Plan, F1 2011, Michael Jackson's The Experience, Ninja Gaiden Sigma Plus, Plants vs. Zombies. There are 3 free games on PlayStation Network if you don't know that. Cliff Diving, Fireworks, and Table Soccer. I'm sure they're horrible, but they're free. Shinobido 2. What the fuck is Shinobido 2? I hit it by accident. And a couple other things. So there are games that you don't have to actually go to the store to buy, okay? And that's a cool feature for me if you bought a huge memory card. So if I had the 32 gigabyte memory card, I'd be like, wow, that's great, you know, because these games are probably 2 to 4 gigs in size. Well, I was only able to buy the 8 gigabyte memory card because that's all they had at my local GameStop. And keep in mind that the memory card is a proprietary memory card that you must buy in order to save your games. And so for me to download one of these games, like, I'd probably only download one. If I'm going to download one, I'll probably get Dynasty Warriors next, and then play through it. When I'm done with it, delete it off the memory card so I could start and put something else on there, because I don't want to fill up the memory card with 2 games and have no room to save anything, okay? But as you can see, fully synced, and you can also, you can do Netflix, you can do all that stuff on here, you can watch movies on your PS Vita, so all that capability is built in there. So I just wanted to show that off for people who didn't understand, you know, the full functionality. Yeah, it is pretty much like having a PS3 in your hand. It has the same features there of the PS3. It also does sync with Bluetooth headsets, which is a first for a handheld using a wireless headset. So if you have a Bluetooth headset, you can use it with the PS Vita, which is nice. So those are the positives, okay? The negatives so far for me have been a couple weird things. For example, the controls, there are a lot of gimmicks built into the Vita that have been used with a lot of systems recently. So for example, the screen is a touch screen. The back of the PS Vita is actually a touch screen. A lot of people don't know that. This is actually a fully functional touch screen back here that's used for some games, okay? It has a vibration feature. So some games will actually require you, in fact Dungeon Hunter Alliance is one of them, if you get stunned, you have to shake your Vita like crazy like this to get yourself unstunned. There's also games like in Uncharted where when you're looking around with the camera in first person, if you move your Vita around like this, it'll actually move your perspective in the game, okay? So there are some situations that are going to use these unique style of controls. And I think it's a mixed bag because I think there will be games that'll be designed for it that'll work really well. But I'm going to be honest with everyone, the 2 games that I've played so far, both utilize them pretty poorly, okay? Dungeon Hunter Alliance only uses the touchscreen for shaking. I'm sorry, not the touchscreen. Only uses the motions for shaking. Like if you get stunned, you shake it like this and you get out. That's it. I don't use the motion controls. I don't use the touchscreen. I don't use anything for this game. This game, it feels like they totally wanted you, okay, to have to use every single kind of control on the Vita to play Uncharted Golden Abyss. And let me explain what I mean. There'll be times when you'll find an artifact. So let's say this is the artifact. Oh, I found it. Well, the artifact's dirty. So now you have to use your rear touchpad and move around to rotate the artifact. Then you have to use your finger to rub the touchscreen to clean off the artifact. Oh, I only cleaned one side. Let me rotate it some more. Oh, this is fun. Rubbing a fucking artifact with my finger. Like, what does that have to do with Uncharted? Nothing. And it feels out of place and it feels really weird. And there's other parts of Uncharted where you'll find there will be an idol. Like, let's say that my Dark Side Phil mug is an idol. So you'll take a piece of paper and you put it up against the idol like this, and you have to take your finger on your screen and rub it like this to do a charcoal rubbing of the idol. So here's the thing, though, and this is my problem. This is a problem I've always had with touchscreens. And I'm not even talking about just the Vita. I'm talking anything that has a touchscreen, okay? It gets dirty, and right now you can even see, I don't know if you can, yeah, you can see it. There's fingerprints all over my Vita, and you can see those fingerprints when you're playing the games. So that's great that they put in all this touchscreen capability, but didn't anyone ever think to say, gee, isn't that going to make your screen covered in fingerprints all the time? Especially Uncharted. Like I said, it's like every 5 minutes you're finding a new artifact where you have to rub the whole screen with your finger, and it gets greasy and fingerprinty, and it's really frustrating, and I don't understand what they were going for. Now, here's another thing that frustrates me about the touchscreen, okay? So let's get this guy out of sleep mode. So this is what happens when it goes into sleep mode. It goes into this like clock, and then you just go back to your menu by doing this. Look, I want to show you something. Oh, I want to go around in my menu. Well, the thumbstick doesn't do anything. Well, the D-pad doesn't do anything. The buttons don't do anything. The only way you can navigate your menu is with your finger. So again, you are trying to navigate a menu, and you're going to get fingerprints all over your screen just to do anything in your menu, which is really silly. And then the other thing is, what if you're walking down the street and you're listening to music, and so you're walking with one hand, you want to try to start some music. You can't, because you have to have full capability of your thumbs and fingers to get through the menus to get to what you want to do. So it's really frustrating to do that, because the other thing is, if you got the 3G version, okay, of the Vita, it actually comes with Google Maps. It's right here, if I get to stand up. Google Maps is right here. And you could actually use it as like a GPS unit. Let's say you're on vacation and you're in a big major city and you're trying to find food, or you're trying to find a place for tourism or whatever, a monument, and you're trying to find it. You could use this as a GPS, but good luck navigating it, because you have to use your fingers. So again, you can't just walk with it and do stuff with it. You have to stop and use your fingers to do anything with the PS Vita. So now here's my question. I'm going to show you something in comparison to the Vita that I think directly beats it in this regard. My BlackBerry Torch phone, okay? And, you know, it's a text message, but here's my phone, and check this out. Okay, yeah, I could use my thumb if I want to do touchscreen functions. You see, I could if I want, but what I do, there's a little touch thing on the bottom here where I just rub my thumb. Now look, with one hand I can navigate my phone fully. With one hand I can get to anything I want in any menu. One hand, and I could do it all. And you click with it too. What the fuck? Like, why do you have to use the whole touchscreen to even navigate a menu on the PS Vita? It's super frustrating. Another thing about the touchscreen, like, I'm sorry, but I just have a lot of negative things to say about a touchscreen that's mandatory. In Uncharted Golden Abyss, and this seems so out of place, let me tell you. When you're doing melee combat in Uncharted Golden Abyss, the melee combat starts off by you pressing the square button. But after 2 or 3 hits, in order to finish off your enemy, you have to take your finger and follow what the screen says. Sometimes it says do a motion like this. Sometimes it says do a motion like this, do a motion like this. You have to do like a slashing motion with your finger. Guess what? It doesn't always work. Sometimes I do exactly what the screen says, and it says I didn't do it. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Of course, look, here it'll draw a streak from left to right. I'll go, whoop, nothing, didn't do it. And like, that is absolutely ridiculous. And there's other parts to find optional items where you need to use a machete to chop down like bamboo shoots, and it's the same deal. It'll be like, do this motion, So I'll do it, it'll say, oh, you didn't do it. Like, how you mean I didn't do it? Like, what the fuck? I don't understand that they're requiring, you use a touchscreen to play the game, and then sometimes it just doesn't work, even though you're doing it correctly. So Uncharted Golden Abyss, because it requires you to so frequently use the touchscreens, the motion controls, it actually seems out of place. It doesn't feel that much like an Uncharted game. Another point about Uncharted Golden Abyss, it seems to me that when you're using the dual thumbsticks to, you're using your left button to look down your sights, using your right thumbstick to aim, and then use the right trigger to fire, it's actually a little bit like slow. Like it's hard for me to properly get a shot off on an enemy. And I don't know, I always seem to go too far to the left, too far to the right, or I can't seem to get it to move around. I don't know if it's the sensitivity, possibly, of the thumbsticks is a little bit off from the PlayStation 3 sensitivity, but it just doesn't feel as good as playing on the PlayStation 3. It is the same control scheme, but it is a little different with the sensitivity of things. So, the last thing is the fact that, okay, well, PlayStation 3 controller has 4 face buttons, 2 thumbsticks, D-pad, 2 shoulder buttons, 2 triggers, and the 2 thumbsticks are buttons as well. They are not on the PS Vita. You don't push these in. They're not buttons. And, again, you only have 1 trigger. So, actually, you're short a number of buttons. And so when you're playing games like Uncharted, you actually get a little bit confused because it's not exactly the same control scheme as it was as the last couple Uncharted games on PlayStation. It's a little bit different, and so it actually takes a little while to get used to it. In fact, I still can't clearly figure out how to reload. That's how frustrating the controls are. I still can't consistently reload for whatever reason, and I don't know why. So overall, what do I think about the Vita? And let me actually mention one more thing, battery life. The battery life is about 4 to 5 continuous hours of gameplay. If you are having it on standby, it's going to last significantly longer, but obviously it's on standby, you're not using it, you know what I mean? When I was playing Dungeon Hunter Alliance that first night, Wednesday night, I played it like a solid 4.5 hours, and then I looked at the battery and it started to look like it was low, and so that was when I started recharging it. And that is another important point that I want to bring out to everyone. You got to be really careful with the PS Vita when you're going to charge it, and here's why. This is really weird. On most of these portable systems, on most phones, on almost everything, the wire that you use to charge it is definitive on each side. Like one end of it might be a rounded end and the other end is a flat end. So you can't accidentally, oops, I plugged it in upside down. You can't because it doesn't fit. The PS Vita is a square, or I'm sorry, a rectangle, and it has a couple little nudges, but I actually last night, I swear to God, last night, I accidentally plugged it in upside down and didn't even realize, and I woke up this morning, and I looked, and it said that it had no charge. I was like, what do you mean? And I looked at it and I said, why isn't it charging? And I unplugged it and plugged it in the other way, and it worked. I was like, oh, fuck me. So I almost damaged my Vita on day 2 because the cord it allows you to plug it in the wrong way, which I don't understand after years and years of designing cords for these things where there's only one way to plug it in. They've decided to make a cord where you can do it both ways and break your system, and that's kind of silly in my opinion. So what do I really like? I think that the Vita is going to, in the long run, it's going to have really good graphical handheld games, and you can definitely see that with Uncharted. The graphics of Uncharted Golden Abyss are really high-end. The colors are beautiful. You actually almost feel like you're playing Uncharted on the PS3 in your hands, okay? But I don't think that we should have these gimmicky touchscreen controls, motion controls shoved down our throats. There should be an option to say if you want to use them or not that you're forced to use them by default, which is what happens in Uncharted, okay? Now specifically, one thing I want to mention about Dungeon Hunter Alliance before I give my final thoughts here. Dungeon Hunter Alliance is a dungeon-style, dungeon crawler RPG, similar to like, I'd probably say Dungeon Siege. It's pretty similar to, or a couple other games I'm trying to think that are like this one, where basically you get to pick a warrior, a character type, either a warrior, a thief, or a mage, and you level up abilities based off of that. You go into, you get basically the whole game is mini quests. Go into a dungeon and kill this boss, and so you have to kill all his minions. You finally get to the boss, you kill the boss. Oh, you completed the quest. Go back to town. You go back to town. You do some more things. Oh, Okay, go to the new town. Go to the new town, you unlock more quests, you go do them. Wash, rinse, repeat. Very basic. But the game, for whatever reason, has some weird quirks to it. Like, once you get to, like, Chapter 3, which I'm on right now, some of the enemies, like, you'll be fighting an enemy, and you'll get them down to almost no health, and the enemy will all of a sudden decide, well, I'm about to die, I don't want to fight you anymore. And the enemy will turn around and turn its back to you, and the word evade will appear above its head. It will triple in speed and fly off the screen as fast as it possibly can. And what happens is, the enemy gets away, and there's no way for you to prevent evade. Even if the enemy is, in evade and you throw another weapon at it, or you're in the middle of hitting it, it becomes completely invincible and escapes. And it's frustrating because there are some enemies where you fight them, they're tough. Oh, he decides he's going to run away. He runs off screen, you take one step, and the enemy respawns on the screen with a full fucking health bar, and you have to completely start over, even though your health and your mana is already depleted. And it's like, what the fuck was that? That's an error I would expect on a PlayStation 1 game. That's not an error I would expect in any game in 2012. Another really weird thing about Dungeon Hunter, there's no targeting system that I can make out. Like, you just aim with your left thumbstick, okay? Let's say you're a mage, because I'm a mage in this game, and there's an enemy up upper left corner, and I'm down here. I hold up left with my thumbstick, and I press the attack button, and the mage will throw up magic across the screen. Well, there are times when you go to do it and you throw it and it doesn't hit the enemy. It'll go right past them to the right or right past them to the left. And it's frustrating because wow, I just wasted, my MP casting this powerful spell and it flew right by the enemy. And you're like, well, why on earth isn't there a targeting system in this game so that I can target the enemies? And it's really confusing that they didn't put that in the game as well. It's really annoying. And there actually is I found out there's a bug where usually when I play games, and this is something that I grew up with because I played Street Fighter. In Street Fighter, when you do a move, there's a technique called double tapping. So let me show you. If I'm going to do a fireball, which is down towards, and then let's say X, I would do this. I would do down towards X, and then tap X again like this. And the reason you double tap is because sometimes maybe your first input is dropped, maybe your first input was too light, and if you double tap it, you have a higher chance of getting that move out, okay? Well, I do that in most games, to be honest. The only games I probably don't do it in are shooters. But every other game where you got to do a jump, you got to do something critical timing, I double tap the buttons. And so in Dungeon Hunter, I'm going like this. I'm holding, I go XX, XX to throw stuff, to throw, the projectiles. Well, sometimes what'll happen is you'll double tap it, and then you'll hold the opposite direction. So I'll go, I want to attack up. So I'll hold up, I'll double tap X, and then I'll press down, and my guy will throw a fireball up, turn around, and throw a fireball down, even though I double tapped like a second earlier. So basically the input, it must be have such an input, it's not input lag, it's a wide input window that you can press a button like this and then press another direction, and the game will actually activate the attack in the opposite direction after your first attack, which is ridiculous, especially in a game like this where you're being maybe mobbed by enemies, surrounded, and you need to react in the right direction at the right time, and sometimes the game F's you up. So it's something that probably won't affect most people because most people don't double tap, but for people who do, it's really annoying. So overall, what do I think about the Vita? I think, first of all, and I'll be honest, for launch titles that are out, I don't think there are a lot of killer app launch titles. And this is mostly reflected if you read the last PlayStation magazine that came out, and there goes Dungeon Hunter. It's hilarious because the whole team of PlayStation magazine does an article about this PlayStation Vita, and they're asked, what game is the first game you're going to play on the PS Vita after Uncharted? Because everyone agreed in the entire staff of the magazine that they were going to play Uncharted first. So Uncharted Golden Abyss is really the killer app for the PS Vita. But after that, like Dungeon Hunter, it's a generic role-playing game. It's cool if you want to grind and kill some time. It's not something you would buy the system for. You could play it on any other system. Wipeout? How many times have we fucking played Wipeout at this point? Mod Nation Racers? I mean, that's an old game. And think of the other games that came out for it. Dynasty Warriors? How many fucking iterations of Dynasty Warriors can you make? That's not a killer app. And when you look at the list, most of the games are either ports of games that are on other systems, or it's a line of games that you've played, like I know you don't say, it's not Lumines, it's like Lumines or whatever, that puzzle game. How many times do you want me to play it? Like, I've played 3 different versions of it now. I don't want to fucking play it again on the PS Vita. That's not a game to sell the system. So I really think that the launch lineup outside of Uncharted is pretty weak. And that's pretty bad considering the Nintendo 3DS just had a horrendous launch lineup. There was only like 1 game to play for that anyone would want when it was released. And I think the sales numbers showed that. And it took them a hefty price cut on the price of the system, and finally starting releasing some of the games that people wanted to play, like Super Mario Land 3D, Mario Kart 7, Resident Evil, that just came out. It took a while to get those games out, and now all of a sudden when you look at the sales numbers for the 3DS, they're significantly higher. So I think Sony has made the classic mistake. You released the system. They were so eager to get the system out there, they didn't get a strong enough launch lineup. I think these are all generic games that aren't going to sell the system. The other negative about the system is the price. The price of the PS Vita is $250 base price for this model, which is the Wi-Fi model, okay, or $300 if you want to get the one with the data plan. The data plan isn't unlimited data and is pricey, and it's a contract with AT&T, just like a cell phone. So that is horrible, okay? And remember, you have to buy a proprietary memory card to even play a game on it. So it's like a mandatory, another $30. So let's say, for example, for what I bought, $250 plus $30. So now we're talking $280. Then you have to buy games for it. So Uncharted I bought, that was like $40. Dungeon Hunter, that was like $30 or $40. I just spent almost $500 for the PS Vita when I could spend $200 for the PlayStation 3. I don't need to buy a memory card. I don't need to buy any accessories or anything for it because it comes with the controller and everything. And all you need to do is buy a game. So, again, initial investment cost of almost $300 for a handheld system with a poor launch lineup versus an already established system with great lineup of games that costs only $200. And I think that is really the reason right now that these are not selling that well. It's a shame because I understand why it's so expensive. Look at the OLED screen. Look at all the features that were put into it. Those are really nice. But in this economy, is this the right time to be releasing a very expensive handheld system with a poor launch lineup? Like, I could see if they had Uncharted, an exclusive Resistance game, an exclusive God of War game, an exclusive Metal Gear game. If you had 4 PS Vita exclusives that were really solid entries, or series that PlayStation, traditionally has had those IPs, and they're the only ones that are going to have those games, then I could say, wow, I could see why people would want to run out and buy the Vita. But they didn't do that. It's all generic games that are being ported over, and Uncharted. So, in my opinion, it's a good system. Just right now, there's no reason to run out and buy one except for Uncharted. If they're, in the future, I would love to see what the lineups of games are going to be and if they're going to be killer apps, as they call them. But there is no killer app, really, besides Uncharted. But then again, keep in mind, Uncharted 3 just came out, so a lot of people are bored of Uncharted at this point. Or, again, if they're choosing, why would you spend $300 and then another $40 for Uncharted on Vita when, if you had the choice, you could buy the PlayStation 3 with Uncharted for cheaper? So, alright, so that's it. That's my initial impressions. I think it's a good system. I love the screen. I love the controls. Right now, I think some of the games are a little bit flaky. Again, Uncharted forcing you to use the motion controls. Dungeon Hunter having some interesting, weird bugs and programming design that I don't agree with. And right now, I just don't think the games are up to par. I don't think there's enough to play to sell the system. But I think the system itself, hardware-wise, is really good. And that's really going to be determining what you want. If you've never played Wipeout, if you've never played an RPG like Dungeon Hunter, if you've never played Rayman Origins, which is out for it, some of these games are really good series. But if you've been there and done that before, why are you going to run out and buy the Vita? That's my 2 cents. So that's it for my initial impressions on the Vita. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope it was informative. As more games come out, I may talk about them. And if I beat these 2 games, I may review them. And so there may be more coverage later on. But that is it for now. Thanks.